Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining today. Hoping you're having a great day. We're Friday here, so we're having a good day. It's April 14th, 2023. And I am Mike from a company called Kubera Payments. And we provide a member benefit for the Revelstoke Chamber of Commerce. Today, I was hoping to make this a little less salesy and a little bit more informative. So what I had planned for us today was to give you some insights on payment processing as a whole for the industry, some things to consider, everything from pricing, different hardware, PCI compliance, and security. So hopefully you'll get some value out of today's call. I'll try and keep it short, maybe 15 minutes, and then we can do some Q&A at the end. And of course, feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions or any interest in talking more about our services. But this is specific today for the Revelstoke community. Kubera Payments, we are what they call us an ISO in the payments industry, and that is short for an independent sales organization. We are really a broker in payments, so similar to a mortgage broker or an insurance agent, but for payments. There are many different processors or payment processing providers out there that you'd be familiar with, names like Moneris here in Canada, Elevon, First Data, Bambora, and many more. Typically, if you're dealing directly with a bank or processor, they would have one payment processing provider option for you. And what we do is we're able to really bring more options from the marketplace to you. We understand needs about your business. Do you need physical terminals? Do you need an online deployment? Are you looking for lowest rates, or are you looking for the newest and most robust technology? So there's many different needs in payments. It's not always about cost, but of course, no one wants to pay too much for payment processing. So we definitely help members get the most aggressive rates possible. But just wanted you to know, we also do help you assess all of the different options in the marketplace. So that's a little bit about Kubera. Just also wanted to mention, we've been around since about 2008. So coming up on 15 years, and we've been working with the BC Chamber of Commerce for almost a decade to provide this member benefit. So we work with 40 or 40 plus regional chambers like Revelstoke to provide this member benefit. We work with many different organizations in many different business verticals. We work with large organizations that you'd be aware of, like Grouse, Seymour, Cypress Mountain, Mount Baker, Mount Washington, many other resorts and hotels, but we also work with restaurants like Shambar, Kisatantu, tons of others, and other businesses like electrician companies, plumbing companies, adventure and rafting companies. Really anyone that is accepting payments could be a potential partner for Kubera. No one is too big and no one is too small to work with Kubera. Wanted to give you an idea about some of our partners that we work with. So I mentioned we've been working with the BC Chamber for about 10 years to provide this member benefit to different regional chambers. But in BC, we also work with the BC Beauty Council. We work with the BC Food Services Association as their preferred payment partner, and many other organizations you'd be familiar with. So just wanted you to know that we're definitely out there in the marketplace. We'd be happy to provide testimonials or references if appropriate. So now let's get into some of the value and some of the different insights about the payment industry. I wanted to put this up in front of you because this is the ecosystem of the payment space. So there's 5 players in the payment space. There's the acquirers, issuers, gateways, ISOs, and then the actual network. An easy way to really understand this is acquirers are the ones that would be acquiring money out of consumers' accounts and pulling it into your business bank account. So those would be the processors you go with. People like Elevon, First Data, Moneris, those are acquirers. Issuers is easy to remember because those are the companies issuing credit cards to consumers. So acquirers pull money from consumers and issuers provide credit cards so consumers can spend. And this will be much more clear in the next slide. Issuers are people like CIBC, TD, all the big banks here in Canada, and credit unions. Gateways enable you to take payments online. So anytime you're trying to take payment through an e-commerce experience, any type of website deployment accepting payments, you would need a gateway. We can help you look at many different gateways. There's different pricings, there's different features and functions that they provide and different security protocols they provide. And those are all different insights that we can help you with when you're deciding on a potential solution. Last is ISOs and the credit card networks. ISOs, like I mentioned, is independent sales organizations like Kubera. So they're definitely out there in the organization, in the ecosystem, excuse me, and you'll see many of them, not just Kubera. So you don't need to work with Kubera. We think there's some major benefits in working with us, but of course you have many different options. And all of these providers are getting you onto the credit card network. So to process credit cards, you need a payment processor or an ISO to help you get a solution, to help you get on the Visa and credit card network. When you tap a card, swipe a card, or do a commerce in transaction, those details of your credit card are actually being put onto the Visa network. And I'm going to help you understand right now what happens when a transaction is done. So let's start here with the individual in front of the merchant store. That would be you, me, or anyone that's doing the buying or the executing the consumer experience. And then the merchant would be the business or us needing a payment processor in this case. So let's say the individual walks up to our store and they want to pay with credit card. What's going to happen here is they tap or swipe their card, and let's follow this red arrow. What's going to happen is our merchant store is going to take the payment. Our payment processor, Elavon, Moneris, etc., is going to get those details on to the Visa or MasterCard network, this red arrow. It's going to actually go to the issuing bank, so the bank that provided us with the credit card, TD CIBC. It's going to check our bank account and make sure that there's money in the account. And then if you follow this blue line back, it's going to come back to that PIN pad or terminal and say successful transaction. As you know, that all happens in about 1 second or maybe 2 seconds if the network's a little bit slow. But just so you know, that's what's happening is it's going onto the network, making sure there's funds in the consumer's account, and then giving you either a decline or approved message. The processor is so important because once you get that successful transaction, it is the one that pulls the money out of the consumer's bank and holds the money in your merchant account until it's deposited at the end of the day. So on your current deployment, you might be familiar with your with your settlement time at the end of the day. It can be set at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Those funds that have been acquired throughout the day sit in your merchant account until the auto settlement time, and those funds are then deposited into your business bank account. So I just wanted you to understand the ecosystem and kind of the 411 on how payment processing works. If you have any questions on that, we're always here to help. And it can be a little bit nuanced depending on your deployment, but that is a good, simple example. Now, there's another piece of the puzzle that people are aware of. Solutions like Square, PayPal, and Stripe. And these are what we call payment aggregators. Now, when you go to get a merchant account through Elavon, Moneris, First Data, all these providers, you actually need to submit an application to get approved. So there's an underwriting process where they would ask you details about your business. For example, how much do you process in a given year, in a given month? How many transactions? What would be the average transaction size? Is there any future deliveries? For example, do you provide services without taking payment at the time? Anytime there's future deliveries, the underwriters would assess that there would be more risk for the deployment. And that's one thing that's important to understand about credit cards is we don't pay our credit card bill to the end of the month. So the actual processors have a lot of money out with risk attached to it because we haven't paid our credit card consumer bill yet. And the reason I wanted to mention that is Square, PayPal, and Stripe have made this process very simple, where you actually use a sub-merchant account. You can go on PayPal, Square, Stripe, and sign up within 4 or 5 minutes and be processing that same day because you don't need to go through the underwriting process. So they're great solutions for businesses that are just getting started. Say you do under 100,000 of payment processing, you just started your business and you want something that's all in one, something that's simple and something that's easy to get up and running. These could be a potential good solution for you, but also want you to know you do pay significantly more in payment processing fees and transaction fees when using a payment aggregator. Simply, they're charging you for the convenience of the solution. Again, all things that we can talk about on a further call if appropriate, but wanted to mention payment aggregators, great entry-level solution, can even be a great solution up into maybe $1 million in processing. Once you get up into those figures, you're going to be paying maybe 0.5% or a full percent more through a payment aggregator than you could through a merchant account. So all of a sudden you're looking at, $20,000, $30,000 potentially in annual savings moving from an aggregator to a merchant account. Again, those are all case by case, and we'd be happy to provide a pricing review for you if you would like. Speaking of pricing, let's just quickly talk about these 3 bullet points of pricing. There's 3 different types of pricing in payment processing. One is a flat rate, one is interchange plus, and one is tiered pricing. Now, flat pricing is very simple. Those would be solutions like Square or Stripe. They're 2.6%, for example, to process a credit card plus 10 cents per transaction. You have cost certainty with flat rate pricing. You know the exact price it's going to cost you every time to process a card, and that's great. But flat rate often is more expensive than the other 2 models here. So interchange plus, interchange is the hard costs set by Visa and MasterCard to process payments through credit cards. It's very similar to a variable rate mortgage in the sense that Visa and MasterCard can alter interchange throughout the course of the year. There's maybe 1 or 2 updates to interchange throughout the year. And interchange is really the hard cost, and plus would be a transparent surcharge that a team like Kubera's or other would have on the account for their services. So for example, deploying the solution and supporting you for the long term. Again, those are all things that we can help you understand when you go to look at a solution. We provide a side-by-side pricing comparison for all of our merchants. We always say this is what you're paying currently, and this is the pricing model. This is what you would potentially be paying working with a team like Kubera. So you'd know in concrete terms what you'd be looking at moving to a new deployment. Tiered pricing, there's 3 tiers: low, medium, and high. It's really based on transactions and transaction sizes. I would always say going with interchange or flat rate is best. The reason is tiered, it's hard to understand why a particular processor would put a transaction in a low, medium, or high bucket. And often they'll price the lowest tier because that's most cost effective, but not all transactions would fall into that low tiered bucket and may be a more expensive deployment than you were expecting once you see your statement. So my personal opinion would be flat rate has cost certainty. Interchange plus would be the most aggressive pricing. But again, feel free to reach out to us and we can provide additional resources or help you with that. Now, in terms of the needs for a business, of course, every business has different needs. That's really what I think the value of Kubera in the marketplace is being a broker. We can help you assess different solutions, help you have pricing on multiple different solutions. And we also offer an additional service level offering above and beyond processors. Often when you sign a contract with Moneris or Elavon or First Data, for example, it would be 3 to 4 year term. And what Kubera does is we make these deployments month to month. If we deployed a system for you and you were not happy with it, or it just wasn't what you wanted after a month or 2 of using the system, we would close that account with no closure costs for you and either deploy a new solution or have you move on with a new provider. So just wanted you to know that everything that we do here with Kubera is month to month and gives you a lot of flexibility and control with your payments deployment. Now, speaking to all the options, we talked a little bit earlier about how some people want lowest cost, some people want newest technology. There is a significant amount of options of hardware in the marketplace. For example, I'm just going to put 3 different providers' hardware in front of you, and there's dozens. So for example, Clover, they have a wireless unit, they have a wired unit, and then a larger station. The PAX terminals, a wireless unit, wired unit, and a station. In Ingenico, same thing, wireless unit, wired station, and then the larger station as well. So of these processors, many different solutions. The reason you might want to go with one piece of hardware over another is there's many different integrations into POS systems or business management systems. So depending on your business, you might need integrations into QuickBooks, the accounting system. You might need integrations into Xero, the accounting system. You might need integrations into a particular POS if you're a restaurant. All of these hardwares have nuances around their features and functions and nuances around different solutions that they can integrate into in terms of technologies. Those are all things we can help you understand from the outset and make sure that time spent on these deployments is, time well spent, and that everything's going to work once you do move forward with a solution. We also deploy, more mobile solutions like mobile card readers. I'm sure you've seen these out in the field, markets, farmers markets, anywhere you need to take payment out in public. They can be a great solution. And we also have experience deploying a lot of niche hardware and technology. So this is a tap to donate solution that we deploy often at nonprofits or maybe even a mountain. For example, they'll have a cause that they're marketing. They'll have this station down below, and you can self-serve a donation of $5, $10, $20 by coming up to a unit like this. So, many niche offerings that we help deploy as well. Almost at the end here, just a couple more slides. Thanks for bearing with me. Wanted to show you this because it's just another example of how having a team like Kubera in your corner might be of value when you're assessing different solutions. We work with many different service businesses, restaurants, for example. They need a solution that maybe they need pay at the table integrated with their terminals. Maybe they need a counter solution that's going to enable them to store credit cards on file and speed up the queue of the line. There's many different nuances with POS, and these are all things we can help with. So number one, understanding the functionality of the solution, understanding which payment solutions integrate, and just future-proofing your business where, hey, is this going to be a fit not only for a year or two, but beyond, because some of these systems are newer to the market than others, and bringing in newer technologies that are more enticing for certain businesses. In terms of PCI compliance, I just wanted to put this in front of you. It's something you should be aware of as a business owner. PCI compliance, they are moving to a DSS 4.0 in the near future, in the coming years. Don't worry too much about that right now. Just know that PCI compliance and security is getting more stringent. So, as you look forward over the coming years, it will be something that all business owners need to consider. And there are fines for not being PCI compliant. It is a pretty simple checklist in terms of having a secure website, having credit cards stored in a secure fashion, but all things you really should be aware of as a business owner to protect yourself and your business. Wanted to get a couple more solutions in front of you. There are solutions where you don't need physical hardware or even a website deployment. There are things called a hosted payment page out there where we can create payment acceptance simply on a website URL. So if you find that you're taking payment over the phone, you find that people are doing things that are not PCI compliant, like emailing you credit card numbers or in any fashion emailing you credit card info that's not through a secure link, a hosted payment page can be a great low-cost solution. Simply, we would build this for you, cost like $200 to get in place, and we can even cover the development fees for you. And it creates a URL that you can toggle to and place an order or a sale in, whether over the phone or anywhere you have internet access. So again, this is going to be completely PCI compliant, low cost, and you don't even need a hardware rental to get it done. So many wholesalers, many people that are just doing online ordering, many different solutions, you could pull a hosted payment page in to accept payment at low costs. A few more payment considerations. There's rent, leases, and purchases of hardware. Purchases would typically be least cost, but we do often recommend rentals just because if you don't know the hardware and don't know that you love the hardware, a rental is month to month. So you can always send it back, try out different hardware. But again, if you wanted to purchase, we can always support purchase as well. Contract terms, know what you're signing. If you are going with a big bank or processor directly, I would understand the terms in the contract. Is it 3 or 4 years? Are there personal guarantees on the contract? I would definitely take the time to go through the fine print. And just a personal note from me, all of these contracts are negotiable. So if you get a contract, say you're not working with Kubera and you go with whoever directly. If you see personal guarantees in the contract, you can ask them, hey, can we move forward without personal guarantees included in this contract? So just wanted to give you that insight that you can slightly negotiate with these processors on contract terms. Annual review of your merchant statements and effective rates is a good thing to do. Often payment processors will increase prices when you're not looking, say in the holidays like December or January. We do see raises in rates that merchants are not aware of. So just knowing that that is something that exists, and to check your merchant statement and working with a team like us so that your effective rate does not change year over year, would just make sure that you're getting the lowest cost of the deployment year over year. For example, we just negotiated with all our processors to not increase price on our merchants for 2023, 2024. So that's another level of our service offering, is just to continue to work for you over time. Lastly, the Kubera member benefit. So we have a member benefit for the Revelstoke Chamber members. Short and sweet of it would be that there is a $300 account credit. So that is cash that is deposited into your business bank account after about 2 or 3 weeks of processing with us. Those are either cash in hand, or if you have any miscellaneous fees from switching over to the deployment, it can cover those, but there is an account credit for you. Kubera would help you consult on different options in the marketplace. We would help you fill out the applications to the processors. We would help you set up and deploy the system once it arrives on site. And then we would be your first point of contact for the lifetime of the deployment. So that's really one of our main service offerings, is no automated phone tree during office hours. You can always call Mike at Kubera and he's going to answer the phone for you. And we are a fully BC-based team. We have, thousands of customers, not hundreds of thousands like the big banks or the processors. So we really, really, really work hard to give white glove service and industry leading support for the long term. So that's a little bit about Kubera. We would be super, super proud to learn more about your business and put together a custom proposal for you. And I hope that short presentation provided some value. Happy to answer any questions if anyone does have them.